Hi, guys, and welcome to the first episode of Right or Wrong. Let's get into it. Right or Wrong is a podcast based on actual events of murder and rape and tragic events of women and children and men who have snuck out of their homes and had deathly consequences. And today's first episode is of Jocelyn Nungaray, a 12-year-old girl, was killed in North Houston, Texas. The case attracted national attention. It had two undocumented immigrants from Venezuela who were charged with her murder. Authorities found her body the next morning in a creek in North Hudson and determined she had been raped and murdered by strangulation. Let's get into it. Nungaray snuck out of her home at 10 p.m. on June 16th. The two accused men had started their evening at a restaurant. While walking, they met Jocelyn at a certain road and talked to her for about a couple of minutes. According to the court documents, they were asking her for directions. The three then walked to a convenience store. After a few minutes, they walked together to a bridge where Jocelyn was strangled. Court documents allegedly said that the three of them were under the bridge for over 2 hours, meaning there was lots of torture and just terrible things, during which Jocelyn was tied up and her pants taken off, resulting from the Houston Forensic Science Center showed that the victim was sexually assaulted before and after her death. Early in the morning on June 17th, police received a call about the discovery of Nungaray's body lying in a ditch near her home. Two suspects identified a 22-year-old, I'm going to butcher this, I'm so sorry, Juan Jose Martinez Rangel and 26-year-old Franken Jose Peña Ramos were arrested on June 20th at Norbroth Drive at the Canfield Lakes Apartments. Both were charged with capital murder. Police received surveillance images of the two suspects, their roommates, one of which was Peña's boss, reported them to the police. Martinez Rangel had a bite and scratch marks on his arms at the time of his arrest, meaning she put up a fight, so that's good. The court proceedings were pretty, well, it was murder, so. Houston Mayor John Whitmore had wanted both defendants to be held without bail indefinitely on June 24th. Bond was set at about $10 million for Peña. In the bail hearing on June 22nd, Harris County Assistant Direct Attorney Kim Ong stated that Peña had told the police that he had kissed the victim, but that Martinez Rangel was responsible for the murder and assault. Martinez Rangel appeared in the court the next day and admitted to tying the victim's legs together and ordering Peña to throw her into a nearby creek. Both men were scheduled for a September 2024 date return to court. Ong, the judge, stated that the two suspects were not eligible for the death sentence under Texas law due to the victim's age. She was 12. However, if it was found that Nungaray was kidnapped or raped, both would be eligible for death sentence. In September 2024, the suspects were charged with the kidnapping and aggravated sexual assault of Nungaray. On December 13, 2024, the prosecution filed official notice to seek the death penalty for the defendants. Texas Governor Greg Abbott called for the death penalty for the two arrests. Donald Trump blamed President Joe Biden for the death of Nungaray, claiming that Biden's immigration policy had led to her death. The Biden administration expressed their condolences to the Nungaray family. Oh, can you imagine? That would be so terrible. Jeez. Secretary of Homeland Security Aledro Mayorkas, I'm so sorry, I butchered that, stated that the murders of Nungaray would be held accountable. Nungaray was indirectly mentioned by Trump in the first 2024 presidential debate against Biden on June 22nd. Her funeral was held on the same day. Houston businessman Jim McIngvale paid for Jocelyn's funeral. Lieutenant Governor of Texas Dan Patrick announced that he would introduce a law block bail for capital murder. Suspects named, quote, Jocelyn Law, end quote. Texas Senator Ted Cruz announced the Justice for Jocelyn Act in 2024 that would introduce harsher measures against undocumented immigrants. Oh. So basically what happened is this 12-year-old Jocelyn snuck out of her house just to hang out, see friends, go to a mall, do fun things like that. Just pure, innocent, for fun, thinking everything would be okay. She snuck out of her house, and about an hour and a half later, two immigrant men grabbed her and kidnapped her and strangled and tied her up and essentially murdered her in the end, proving my point that it is just, it's not okay. We can't be sneaking out. It's not a good idea. And it is a real, like, safety. Real safety. North Houston says that it's because I don't know if it's referring to the same place. I thought it was referring to northern part of the area of Houston. Meaning they didn't even know where she was. They didn't even know where she was when they dropped her off in a random creek. We're gonna do the Nicole way. Nicole's my mom. It's where we draw a line and we go back to a certain part where essentially we could have changed the scenario that happened. At this point, we realized that she was murdered, raped, strangled, and tied up. This is not victim blaming. Everything that happened to her was not okay, and the people are serving time and serving their due because of the hideous acts they've committed. But basically, we go back and we determine which part could have been changed to essentially change the outcome, which was her sneaking out. If she told her parents where she was, there could have been potentially a different scenario. That was episode 1 of Right or Wrong. Let's get into it, and I think it was a success. We talked about Jocelyn, Nungaray, and her terrible, terrible fate, and what could have happened if something else had, if her decisions were different, and the safety that needs to be taken in today's modern world, considering all the terrible people out there, monsters. So come back for another short story.